Alright guys, we're going to do your video walkthrough on your Fuzion right now. We're going to start here with your hydraulics and your battery. The one thing to know about your battery, it is a deep cycle marine stage battery, but you have to check your cells back here. Fill them with distilled water. That water level needs to stay above the cells themselves. So check that periodically and make sure that water stays above the cell plates. Very important. This is your hydraulics for your slides going in and out. The one thing that we wanted to mention about this is if you actually look around here, take the camera around, there is a manual port right here. If you were to lose power, you could still be able to draw your slides in case you were somewhere and got stranded. You would not be stranded actually, you just have to do a whole lot of arm work. This is for your hydraulic bedrooms. You can shut a certain slide off in case you guys are somewhere and just want the bedroom slide out. Well, you can keep that bedroom slide out, turn that the main slide off if you're in a tight area or something like that. This is your landing gear, extend and retract. And these are the stabilizers here, extend and retract as well. Moving around this way, this is your generator. Very nice generator. Couple things to tell you about here. To start your generator, hold down the side that says stop prime. Hold it for a couple seconds, this light will come on, and then you'll push it forward to start it. You got two 30 amp services here, so got a good bit of power coming to this. This also is not maintenance free. There's a certain amount of hours, I believe it is two hours that you have to run this per month. So even if you're not camping in it, make sure that you periodically go outside, turn this generator on, let it run, let it use its own work. One thing that we wanted to make sure to tell you guys about your generator is that the generator actually has a cooling system. It's designed in the place that it's at to cool from the bottom up. So a lot of people think, oh, we're going somewhere and it's really hot, so I'm gonna open up this cargo door here and take this front plate off of my generator, and that's gonna make it cooler better. And actually, it's gonna do the opposite for you. That actually will overheat your generator, so you do not want to do that. We've got it where it needs to be, so just keep this cargo door shut and it'll take care of itself, guys. Up front here you have two of your 3 LP tanks. All 3 tanks are filled. We've got them off right now to not waste any of your LP gas. The one thing to know here, this is your regulator. So the green dot is pointing to the tank that it's pulling from. So right now we're pulling from this tank. When this turns orange, which it is now, that's basically indicating that this tank is empty. Really it's just off, but that's saying, hey, this tank is empty. So you need to flip this regulator over and then start pulling from this tank. Internally it automatically does that, so if you run out of gas in this tank, it'll automatically start pulling from this one. So if you're in the middle of cooking something, you don't just lose gas. But then you'll need to come out here, flip this lever, turn this tank off and untwist it, and then you can use your other tank that you have around the side. Get that in there, fill this one up, and just repeat that process. This one turns empty, you'll flip it back, obviously. Docking lights here, those are on your front cap. That's just where your switch is. Moving around, this is your tire sticker here. We'll get to your tires in a second, but I just wanted to show you it's 80 PSIs in your tire. That's very important to make sure that you check those when they're cold. So we'll get that in a second. Here is your third LP tank right here, guys. So that's the third one for you. Coming through the back side of your pass-through storage, obviously it passes through, but the great thing here is your central system. You've got your blue sewer hose here, which we'll talk about in a second. But there's a couple of things in here that you'll want to look at. You have your outside shower. First off, you have a light here, which is nice. You have an outside shower here, so when it comes time to winterizing your unit or de-winterizing your unit, do not forget about this location. That will actually bust your lines if you don't remember that one. You've got city water connection here, so take your hose, and the great thing about this here is that you can open up this hole here and run all of your lines for everything in here down through this whole hose and keep this cargo door shut. But city water here, we suggest to everyone that has a unit to get a pressure regulator. That way you can regulate the pressure on the water that's coming from city water. And we actually suggest hooking it up to where you're hooking up to. That way your hose is also regulated. This is your black tank flush system. If you've ever camped before, you know how much of a hassle it is to have to bring the hose around and in to clean out your black tank. So we've kind of made it easy. We've put a flush here. Just hook up a garden hose here. Obviously make sure that your black tank valve is open, and that will clean out your black tank right there. There's satellite and cable prep here. Satellite being marked, cable being not. So if you're running satellite or cable, here's where you plug those. And the rest of these are actually for your winterization. So you have your bypass for your water heater. Obviously, since that is in the off position, bypass. Winterization, if this is gonna be winterized, you would flip this to the on position. Flip your bypass on as well in order to bypass your water heater. And then you would use this right here, guys, to plug into a couple gallons of antifreeze to pump antifreeze through your system. So hook your garden hose up here, hook that into your antifreeze, go inside, turn your cold water on until antifreeze starts coming out of it. Turn your hot water on until antifreeze starts coming out of it. Come out here, hot water, cold water, antifreeze until it starts coming out of it. You're going to do all of your water lines throughout your unit, including your shower, also your toilet, until you see antifreeze coming out of that as well. And that's how you winterize it. To de-winterize it, you're just going to do the opposite. You're going to hook a water hose up to this. You're going to flip this to the off position, and that way you start pulling from the water, and then cold and hot water until clean water is running out of it to your shower, your outside, your toilet, and that's how you winterize or de-winterize your unit. There's some good material in your manuals and things like that to understand how to do that better. But also, if you're not sure, it's not a bad thing to take it to a technician and have them winterize your unit. And some places they'll actually walk you through it on how to do it yourself. That way you can do it the second time. But that's very important that you guys winterize and de-winterize your unit properly. So if you're not sure, just take it to a technician. Right here you have your 50 amp service. One of the great things about your guys' 50 amp service is this light right here, this blue light. I don't know if we can get it on film, but it actually shows you whether you're actually plugged into power before you walk all the way around the unit and into it and realize that your light switch isn't working. So that's kind of nice. Water heater right here. First thing, if water is filled in this, which it is because the plug is in, you always want to check this right here. This is warm, so I'm not going to pull this lever. That's telling me there's water in there, and it is hot. If that was cold, you would go ahead and pull this lever, see if some water came out. If water came out, you know it's full. Down here, in order to turn your water heater on electric, there's this little toggle switch right here. That has to be on, which it is right now, obviously indicated by the heat of that. It's normally off, and this little pin right here will be pushing through. That's a safety precaution, guys, so that kids don't just start flipping buttons on the inside. If you turn your electric part on without water being in the water heater, you'll actually burn that element up in a matter of minutes. So before you ever turn your electric on, make sure that there's water in it, test it obviously, and then you can go ahead and use that electric side. Coming down here, we've got your sewer system. Back here is actually your sewer hookup, if you can see around me. You've got a nice swivel hose, which you will actually run your sewer hose through and never have to really touch that sewer hose, which is nice. But that is linked to these guys right in here. You've got your gray valve here and your black valve here, indicated right here. You always want to flush your black first and then your gray, allowing that gray water, that cleaner water, to kind of clean out your black and in the hose itself. This is your exhaust for your generator, guys, so it does get hot. Don't lean lawn chairs, bicycles, anything like that up against it because it does give off some heat when you're running that generator. One other thing down here, guys, you've got a nice just cargo holding cell here with a pin lock on it. This is actually designed for your power cord so that you don't have to put that up and in your pass-through because it does get a little bit dirty being on the ground and things like that. So that is what this is designed for. Max load 100 pounds on that, guys. So if you're not using it for your cord, make sure that you don't put anything heavier than 100 pounds on it. Right now we're going to talk about your slides. Your slides are not maintenance free. So one thing you want to make sure of is you've got some really nice seam seals here and really nice seals here, and they're very pliable and soft. And in order to keep them that way, you're going to want to spray them with a UV protector. So if you guys are keeping this out all summer long, you're going to want to actually come out here easily once a month, maybe twice a month, and spray these with a UV protector. You can find it at pretty much any RV store, as well as here at Holman Motors in our catalog, which is in your startup kit. You want to spray those to make sure they're nice and pliable. The moment they get a crack in them, they're not doing their job anymore, guys, and you have to get new ones. So you just want to make sure that they stay soft. You've got them along each side and on the top of your unit, so just make sure that you're taking good maintenance of that. Also, underneath you've got some gear tracks here with the teeth. You also want to use a lubricant on these, but you want to use a dry lubricant. So do not use just a regular lubricant. As you're going down the road, it'll pick up the grit and the grime and things like that. You want to use dry, something like a graphite, to keep those running well. And while we're talking about this maintenance, take a time to talk about your roof. Your roof maintenance. Your roof is not maintenance free. It's actually one of the key maintenance points on your unit. Your roof is sealed with a product called Dicor, and all of your spots like vents, the very edges where the seams are, as well as any thing that protrudes out through your roof is sealed with Dicor. So you guys need to get up there twice a year at least, check those seams, check those roof vents to make sure that screws haven't come loose, that going down the road that it hasn't put a crack in that Dicor, because that's where you'll get your water damage. If you do see a crack or a screw that's loose or anything like that, just take any type of household cleaner, clean that old Dicor off pretty good, and then you actually can just apply new Dicor right on top. It's a self-leveling product, so you don't have to worry about that. You just apply it on and it'll level out itself. One thing that is very important, do not use silicone on your rubber roof. That will void your warranty. It's actually in your manual. It'll talk to you about that. But silicone will eat away at your rubber roof and will completely void your warranty. So Dicor only when you're doing your roof maintenance. Coming around here, we'll talk about your tires a little bit. These are your tires here, and your lug nuts also, you need to tighten those. I believe it's 120 foot-pounds on those. So as you're going down the road, this is being delivered to you, so you won't have to do the first round of tightening. But just make sure that those are staying tight. And also, like I said earlier, your tire pressure, the PSIs, make sure that you check that when they're cold, not when you go down the road, otherwise you'll get an inaccurate reading. Back here is your toy fill station. The one thing to make sure when you're using this, make sure that whatever you're plugging into, that you ground that off before you start filling, and then you can go ahead and use this. You've got a tank for that and a tank for your generator back here, and you also have a fuel station pump here, so you turn that on and it's got a 5-minute shut off, so it'll run for 5 minutes and it'll automatically shut off. So you can go ahead and fill those toys up and hit the road, and it'll turn off itself. This is your guys' ladder hookup. Just want to make sure, don't have this ladder hooked up as you're going down the road. This thing is already wide enough, and we don't need a couple more sticking out over the side. So your ladder, it's stored in your garage right now, and that's where we suggest that you guys store it until you get there. And then you can put it on and use it for things like your roof maintenance and checking above your slides before you bring them in to make sure pine cones and tree branches and things like that aren't on top of them. Moving back to your ramp door, you've got some nice handles on this here, so they're just a pull out and a twist. They twist either way, and then when it comes time to shut it, it just is a push down again. It's got a nice spot where you're able to put like a padlock or anything like that type of lock on it. It's a spring loaded, so it's very easy. You can put it up and down with one hand realistically. You've got your vents here, which will show on the inside. Basically, these are used to catch or push out wind in any direction, depending on which way the wind's going, to keep the gas fumes from hanging out in your garage. While we're here, I'll talk about your steps. They're very easy. Just pull down and pull down, opposite going up. It's just a 1-2 up system there. The only thing to watch with your assist handle, don't lift out here, guys. You'll put a lot of torque on this. Come close to it and lift up there, lift up and bring over. So that's nice. On the front side here, this is where you have your potable water. So if you guys are doing any type of dry camping, this is where you're going to want to fill up your fresh water here, the potable water that you'll be bringing with you. One thing to make sure about this is when you're actually filling this up, you want to watch your gauge on the inside. You want to try to stop right before you overfill the tank to leave a little bit of an air pocket on top, if you would say, to allow for a little bit of expansion, things like that. You have a port for cable and satellite coming out, as well as electricity for bringing a TV out here. You've got a little bit of a stand here to hook a TV up to, so that you can watch TV outside. You've got your kicker audio system outside. You got a second one here, and the one other thing on the outside that I'm going to show you right in this area. This is the outside of your refrigerator. Important thing here is this little tiny little cover on this tube, this drain tube. This drain tube is actually a direct line into your refrigerator, so you're gonna want to make sure that always stays outside. It's actually a drip line. Water condensation drips out of that, so you don't want that in your refrigerator. But also this cover is very important because that keeps hot air as well as things like wasps from going up in there, and that's very important because as you're going down the road, if you don't have this thing on, hot air goes right up in your refrigerator and it's not cooling anymore, it's heating up everything that you have in there. So make sure that you keep that on. You got your keyless entry here, guys, into the unit. In your manual, it'll tell you what the automated locking and unlocking buttons are. You can reset those to whichever password you want, and that way you can have it be to your own likings on a number, a locking system number. Last thing on the front side we're going to talk about is your pass-through. We touched on it a little bit on the other side. You've got a nice area right here to put soda pops and things like that, a cooler area that you can put ice. It's got drain holes in it, so it will, if it's got water, things like that, drain out itself. You've also got your shop vac here. This is your shop vac. It's got more stuff on the inside for you. You also have some tubes here that go with your shop vac, so that you can use that inside and outside of your unit. Besides that, we have pretty much covered the outside. The last thing I want to talk about is your awning. Your awning is it's an automatic awning. It's as simple as pushing or a button. So you push the button out, you push it the other way to bring it back in. I'll show you that on the inside. But the one thing we wanted to tell you, excuse me, in high winds and heavy rains, just go ahead and bring that in, guys. It's so easy to get it in and out. Bring it in high winds and heavy rains. It kind of acts like a sail and can really damage your unit. So we want to make sure that you bring that in that time. So we're going to go ahead and move on into the inside.